Dissecting suffering, scheming, and the iron law of cause and effect.
Alright, let's dive right into today's incredibly fascinating, deep analysis. To be honest, the text we are exploring today is exceptionally sharp. It directly dissects causal relationships, behavioral effects. Consider this a quick heads up, this is definitely not your typical comforting chicken soup for the soul. Instead, it is a ruthless, honest conversation that strips away all of our self-deception. Throughout this breakdown, we will see how a strict mentor, through a Q&A session with a student, dismantles how every single thought precisely shapes our current life circumstances. Are you ready? Let us get right into it. Part E, the demon of affliction and the iron law of karma. Let us start with a brutally direct question from the text. Think about it, do you truly believe you are the master of your own mind? Or are you actually just a slave to your afflictions? This question really forces us to pause and reflect. Are we genuinely in control of our lives? The text highlights a very ironic phenomenon. Many people are supposedly the bosses of their own lives. Yet they treat their afflictions and negative emotions like revered ancestors or emperors, serving them hand and foot. If someone says something you don't like, you instantly fly into a rage. If you suffer the slightest disadvantage, you immediately blame everyone else. When you blindly obey these emotions, truth be told, you have already handed over the steering wheel of your life to others. This brings us to our first session, how the demon of affliction and the iron law of cause and effect actually operate. There is a scenario in the text where a student tries to play the victim during a break, claiming they don't have a single penny left, and have even lost their bank cards. Well, guess what? The mentor exposes him ruthlessly on the spot, snapping, that is a flat-out lie, false speech. Why? Because even if you literally have only $1 left in your pocket, saying I don't have a single penny is still a form of deception used to fish for sympathy or dodge responsibility. The mentor sternly warns that constantly cursing yourself with poverty and aggressively framing yourself as a victim is actually destroying your own good cause's positive potential. The more you cry poverty, the poorer you are destined to become. This brings out the most critical concept. The text defines cause and effect, or what we call karma, as an extremely strict, unyielding iron law. It isn't some mystical superstition, nor is it something that ceases to exist just because you say you don't believe in it. It works exactly like gravity in physics. It is the fundamental underlying logic of how the universe operates. You reap exactly what you sow. For instance, if you spend every day harboring suspicion and guarding yourself against the people around you, what do you think will happen? You are planting negative seeds. Ultimately, what you harvest will be a miserable state of absolute isolation. Part R, the true cost of calculation. What happens when we turn this internal defensiveness into external actions? Interestingly, to prove this point, the text pulls examples from Louis Chas-Jin-Yong's legendary wuxia novel's characters we all know incredibly well. Take Sushu and Piao Fen. Sushu didn't care at all about whether he would suffer a disadvantage when he set out to save the child old virtue Tian Shan Tenggao. Piao Fen, too, constantly sacrificed himself for the greater good. The result, they ended up gaining immense status and the profound respect of everyone. Now look at the other two extremes. Mirong Fu was incredibly shrewd, constantly calculating how to restore his kingdom and become emperor, only to drive himself insane in the end. Then there is Madame Ma of the beggar gang, who used every ounce of her scheming mind to frame Piao Fen, only to end up abandoned on the ground, eaten alive by ants. This draws a powerful, contrasting core truth. Extreme selfishness and self-interest often lead to total self-destruction. To sum it up in one sentence, scheming won't get you more, it will only make you lose what you have. You might think you are brilliant and successfully taking advantage of others, but you are actually draining the most precious resources of your own life. The text puts it very bluntly: if you lack supreme wisdom but insist on using your petty cleverness to scheme against the people around you, you are walking straight into a trap. Not only will you fail to achieve your goals, but you will also completely outsmart yourself in the end. It works just like an invisible boomerang. When you expend massive amounts of energy to deceive or exploit others, the universe will hurl that exact same amount of energy right back at you. If you scheme against others, remember everyone is destined to scheme against you. If you spend all your time trying to avoid taking a loss, you will end up losing the most. If you demand that everyone listens to you and seek absolute control, you will end up being utterly despised. This is the precise manifestation of the iron law of cause and effect in our daily lives. Part 7. Parents, the foundation of our blessings. With that understood, let us move on to the third part, why parents are the very foundation of our blessings and good fortune. The text positions our parents as the absolute foundation for our personal good luck and blessings, what traditional philosophy calls the field of blessings. It outlines an extremely rigorous three-step mechanism. Step E. Recognizing kindness. You must recognize, from the bottom of your heart, that your parents' sacrifices for you are not a given. Step R. Repaying kindness. Actively doing right by them. Step 7. Growth of virtuous roots. Only when you solidly fulfill the first step can your virtuous roots, the foundation for all good luck, beautiful things, and opportunities in your life truly grow without limit. If you can even manage the first step of recognizing their kindness, your virtuous roots are effectively severed at the base, let alone ever bearing any good fruit in the future. Honestly, this part cuts like a knife. The text describes a scene where a student complains that his parents are always prying into his business and nagging him to come home, calling them annoying and claiming they are holding back his personal growth. Hearing this, the mentor reprimands him harshly, calling this mindset completely absurd. Your parents are the root of your life. Disdaining them and treating them like enemies is nothing short of digging your own grave. If you can't even find basic gratitude for your own parents, how could you ever be genuinely grateful to bosses or friends out in the world? This mindset guarantees that your future path will only become narrower and more dead-end. Part 6. The poisonous snake and the conscience of shame. Let us zoom out to our final section, the poisonous snake and the conscience of shame, remorse. What is the ultimate protective mechanism for human beings when faced with the poisonous snakes of affliction sulking around in our minds and the various temptations of the outside world? What can we use to slam on the brakes? The text quotes a heavyweight line from the Sutra of Bequeathed Teachings. He who lacks a sense of shame is no different from the beasts. That sounds incredibly harsh, doesn't it? But this isn't a personal attack, it's establishing a very serious standard. The text points out that the grand dividing line between humans and animals is that we possess a conscience of shame. If a person feels absolutely zero shame while engaging in selfish, deceitful behaviors and takes it all for granted, then spiritually speaking, they have already degraded into a beast driven purely by instinct. But hold on, the definition of shame or remorse here is definitely not the passive, guilt-ridden feeling we modern people you experience after doing something wrong. The text describes this conscience as a physical iron hook. When the poisonous snake of affliction wakes up in your mind, tempting you to harm others or create negative karma, this iron hook instantly catches you and forces you to slam on the brakes. It is a highly proactive state of awareness that allows you to constantly monitor whether your current actions are right or wrong. This is the genuine conscience of shame that protects you. To thoroughly wake us up, the text concludes with a chilling reminder, the illusion of the next second. Think about those who instantly lose their lives and property in sudden natural disasters. In the very second before the disaster struck, they might have been happily eating dinner, driving, and enjoying life, completely unaware that the final settlement of their karma was arriving in the next second. This completely shatters our persistent illusion that, oh, I still have plenty of time, I'll change later. The maturation of cause and effect never sends you an advance notice. This highlights the absolute, extreme urgency of correcting our behavior right now. Conclusion. So at the very end of today's analysis, I want to leave you with the most important question of all. We've walked through the whole picture from the demon of affliction within your mind, to the boomerang effect of scheming against others, to the immense weight of parents as our field of blessings, and finally to that iron hook-like conscience of shame. Everything points to one undeniable truth: your every glance, your every word, and your every tiny decision are actually lining up, waiting to return to you on some future day. With that in mind, why don't we quiet our minds and think deeply? Are the seeds you are planting for yourself today ones of peace and joy? Or are they the looming shadows of future disasters? I hope today's exploration brings you some profound insights. See you next time.